speak up a little bit. Okay, hold on. Okay. So, like Miss Jane said, my name is Sabrina. We started going to church here when I was in 3rd grade when my mom had cancer, and my grandpa was getting sick, and then we kind of found it as our home church. I'm not here as much as I would like to be because I'm usually at... Ooh.
Take your hands off the microphone.
Okay,
Don't touch.
Okay, so I'm usually at school, but I did ask Miss Jan, probably a year or 2 ago, I started talking to her about it, and then I never thought it would happen, but here I am. So Miss Jan came to me a few months ago, and she asked me if I still want to do it. She told me that she had a couple potential dates in October for Youth Sunday, and I was like, oh, yeah, I can do that, sure, Miss Jan. And so then, we're so busy, and so I figured it would pass and it wouldn't really come up again. And then maybe a month ago, Miss Jan came to me and she asked me if I still had those 2 dates down, and I was like, well, this is going to happen. I better get it together and figure something out. So I started praying, and I was asking God what I should talk about and what I should... I've done short devotions before, but I've never stood in front of the congregation and preached the whole message. But I started praying about it, and at first I really didn't know what to do, but I have the little devotion book that we got, the graduates got. That is beautiful, and I read that thing every day, and at first the devotions were kind of confusing, but then some days they are confusing, and then other days, when you really need it and when you most need it, it is like God knew I was going to have that devotion book. It's a crazy thing. So I was praying about it, and then it got closer, and then about 2 weeks ago, Miss Jan asked me if I had something together, and I just went with it because I knew I'd have something eventually. So then I started praying real hard. I was like, okay, God, we're getting a little closer. You might want to show me what I'm supposed to talk about now. So then about 2 weeks ago, most of y'all that know me well know that I struggle with anxiety and freakouts and panic attacks, and so a few months ago I started taking medicine for it, and it helps so much. It is such a difference. And so about 2 weeks ago I stopped taking my medicine because I believe that somebody had convinced me that you didn't need medicine to get through, and you don't. It's not a crutch, but it really does make a difference. And so I stopped taking it, and then this is when that was such a mistake, y'all. Such a mistake. I am not a doctor. That was wrong. I should not have done that. And so at my college, I'm really busy and really involved, and I have a lot of hours, and I'm president of the freshman class, and then I twirl for the band. And so I'm always busy, and so the medicine helps me keep things going. And so if I go out to eat and they're out of chocolate milk and I thought I was going to have chocolate milk, I don't have a panic attack because I'm not getting what I thought I was going there for. So it really helps me, and it keeps me going straight. And so I just stopped taking it, and that, like I said, was a mistake. So on Wednesday, I had decided what I was going to talk about, but I didn't have all the details down, and so then this week was homecoming week at my school, and so the freshman class president is in charge of the homecoming float, and building a float is easier said than done. It was not easy, y'all. It was very difficult. They gave me a flatbed trailer and said, make it happen, and that is a task in its own. It was very daunting, and so I had to do that, and then I had to twirl for the homecoming game and the parade, and it was just complete chaos. So Wednesday, when all this, it was peak of the week this past Wednesday, and everything was going down, I kind of had forgotten to eat. I was just so busy, it just escaped my mind. It wasn't like I was purposely not eating. So much was going on, and I was so stressed out. So we were walking to my car. We were going to go pick up the trailer and tow it back to the school to start building the float, and my legs gave out, and I passed out, and then I had my worst anxiety attack I've ever had, and they called an ambulance to my school, and they took me to the hospital, and it was not fun. Waking up in an ambulance is not a good experience. I never want to do it again, and my poor parents were probably freaking out because I know they called them, and so that's when I really after I got back from that and they let me go back to school, that's when I realized that this was for sure what I was going to talk about. So it brings me to the scripture that the girls read a few minutes ago, how in 1 Kings 19:12, and behold, the Lord passed by, and a great strong wind tore into the mountains, and broke the rocks into pieces, but the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, and after the fire, a still small voice. So my experience, it all started with the wind, and I'm just, like I said earlier, I have so much going on, and Miss Jan always harps on me about it, how I need to let some things go and just choose what's really important to me, and so that's something I struggle with, and that's all branches back to my anxiety and how I'm a perfectionist with everything. And so that, I feel like, to me, Miss Jan's voice, she was the start of that verse, like when I relate this, like kind of parallel it to my life. And so the wind came to me, and it, like God was telling me, he was whispering in my ear, Sabrina, you need to let some things go. And so I chose to ignore them, like most humans, like it's human nature to choose to ignore things, so I did. And then the earthquake came when I was elected freshman class president, which I was so excited about, but I knew it was a great responsibility. And so there was this big earthquake, and everything like came crashing down, and there was so much to do, and it just became ridiculous because I have 23 hours at school, and it was like one thing after another. So I never thought it was going to end. And so then when I was praying about what I was going to talk about, and then I found myself in an ambulance, to me that was like my fire. And then after that fire, I realized that Miss Jan was right. All these years, when she's harped on me and told me that you need to let some things go and realize what's really important in your life, she was definitely right about that. And so now, like, I know it took me like 3 days before I was supposed to come do this devotion, and I realized like some of the things you do have to let go. And so I asked myself, I was like, well, God, what am I supposed to let go? Because to me, everything was going great. Like, and yeah, I was always stressed out and I was getting pulled in all directions, but it all, like in my head, I thought I could do it, and it all made sense to me. And so then I talked to, there's a lady at my school, she's my student government association, she's in charge of it, her name's Miss Sonia, and she was the one that was with me in the ambulance until my parents could get there. And she made a really good point to me and told me that in Colossians 3:23 it says, and whatever you do, do it heartedly as to the Lord and not to men. And so I realized, yeah, all those things, everything I'm doing is great and it's wonderful. But if you're not doing it for God, then you're probably doing it for yourself. And so it may make you happy, but it's not necessarily making the Lord happy. And so that really made me think that some of the stuff I do isn't as important as others. And just because I'm a perfectionist doesn't mean I have to make A's in every class, and it doesn't mean I have to be in charge of everything. I can delegate responsibilities to other people. And so this week really made me realize, and then it was just such a blessing because I thought I didn't know what I was going to talk about, but it also says that every bad situation, something good will come out of it. So out of my fun ambulance ride, I got a great message, and I can share it with all of you. And so, and I know that often I see it on Facebook all the time that God won't give you more than you can handle, but I was researching that a few days ago, and in 1 Corinthians, it says that God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will provide the way of escape also, so that you will be able to endure it. So he's not telling you that he's going to give you, that he won't give you stuff you can't handle. He's going to keep packing it on, and I can preach to the choir, y'all. He will keep packing it on until you decide to take his wind, so to say, and realize that maybe you do have too much going on. And so all too often we think we don't have time for God, and so our lives, there's so much going on, and with jobs and school and kids or relationships, and some of those things, like I said, they could be pleasing to you, but they might not necessarily be pleasing to God. And so sometimes that we just decide that we don't have time for God, and think that it's better to rely on our own strength and wisdom to solve our problems. But this, y'all, this eventually, like I said, it is going to send you so far into like a desperate state of despair that it is not even funny. And that's what I learned this week, that if you don't learn to lean on God and make Him first in your life, then you will go crazy. And if you do learn to lean on God and make Him first in your life, He's going to show you the way. And I mean, He's going to make it okay. Somehow I'm going to get through that chemistry test, and somehow I'm going to pass calculus. But if I don't have God, then it's going to be completely impossible. And He wants us to become hungry for Him. And if we're not hungry for Him, He's going to starve us and cut us off. And eventually we will. And then, just in closing, that with man, that it's impossible. It's going to be impossible for me to pass calculus and chemistry. But with God, all things are possible.